It looks like everybody. Oh, Peter Kleiner's here.
All right.
Looks like
Great.
everybody is in.
Okay. Can we go ahead, Rebecca?
Yep.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Preservation Commission's public hearing for Tuesday, January 13th. With us tonight are the commissioners David King, David Jack, Elton Elprin, Peter Kleiner, Bruce Ehrlich, and our newest commissioner, Jean Woy. Both Bruce and Jean are alternates. And Jean, I'd like to ask you just to tell the public just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm Jean Woy. I'm a historian by training and an editor by profession. I worked in college text publishing for some 40 years, mostly with Houghton Mifflin Company, where of course I worked with Maria Morelli at Houghton Mifflin. And I worked with the commission some years ago, 2021, 23, 24, along in there. I helped to edit some of the study reports for the LHDs, in particular, well, the Lawrence Extension, which was not approved, and the Olmsted Richardson LHD, which was approved. And so I am delighted to be back with the commission again, and I look forward to serving in this function.
Well, we're very glad, Jean, to have you on board. So I'm going to ask that for the time being, we have two commissioners who aren't present. So Bruce, I'll ask you to vote for Arisa Boyd. And Jean, I'll ask you to vote for Brooke Richard. And if either of them join the meeting, then we'll revisit that. The first order of business is approval of the minutes from the December 9th, 2025 meeting. Have people had a chance to review those? I have an addition I'd like to propose. On line 171, which is blank, I would insert there, Ms. Armstrong asked for information about what had transpired since the project had been presented to the Preservation Commission by the Design Advisory Team in May 2025. Rebecca or Maribeth, were you able to get that? Or I guess it's recorded, so.
Yes, got it.
Okay, cool. Do any other commissioners have any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I do not, Elizabeth. This is Dave.
Yeah, thank you. All right, well, hearing nothing, does anyone want to make a motion?
I move that we accept the December 9th, 2025 minutes approved as amended.
And I will second that. So we'll vote. I vote yes. David King,
I wasn't there, Elizabeth.
David Jack,
Yes.
Elton.
I wasn't there either.
Okay, you don't have to be there to vote. It may seem counterintuitive, and but I'm not asking you to vote.
Yeah, I didn't feel.
Yeah, that's fine.
Reviewing the minutes.
Okay, Bruce?
Yes.
And Jean, I guess I won't ask you since you weren't on the commission yet.
Okay.
Okay, so 3 of the 4 commissioners who were present voted to approve those minutes, so we'll mark them approved as amended. The next meeting on the agenda for public comments on matters not on the agenda. So folks, if you're here to comment on a particular case, please hold your comments until we are having the public hearing on that case, and we'll hear you then. This is an opportunity for members of the public just to raise something to the commission that they're concerned about that doesn't appear on the agenda. And Rebecca, at this time, would you like to advise members of the public about how they go about raising their hand and asking to be heard?
Yeah, of course. So if you would like to speak during this public comment period or any of the other public comment periods for specific cases, you can use the raise your hand function. And you can find that either as a hand icon down at the bottom of your Zoom bar, or it can be inside the heart-shaped react button, and then you'll select the hand there. You can also message us directly in the chat, and we can acknowledge you that way if you're having trouble finding the hand feature. Or if all else fails, you can physically raise your hand on the screen and we will hopefully see you and flag you down that way. And we just ask that folks keep their comments to about 2 to 3 minutes. And if someone has already made your point previously, you can just agree with previous comments made. And I am not seeing any hands up at this time, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. We'll move on to public hearing on the LHD cases. We just have one tonight. So we'll open the public hearing for 29 Edge Hill Road in Pill Hill. Rebecca, is that your case?
Yep, that's mine. I'm going to pull up my screen right now. Okay, so everyone should be able to see my screen now. And as Elizabeth noted, this case is at 29 Edge Hill Road, which is in the Pill Hill Local Historic District. For this case, the applicant is proposing to remove the existing front vestibule and construct a new, slightly larger vestibule on the front elevation of the home. And just as a note, additional work will be conducted at the rear of the property, which is the west elevation on the provided plans. And that work is not visible from the public way and will therefore be eligible for a certificate of non-applicability. For the preliminary findings, the applicant has selected materials for the new vestibule that are consistent with the local historic district guidelines. The shingles, clapboards, and gutter will match the existing materials and designs featured on the main body of the house. The new entry stairs will be wood, and the new railing will replicate an existing handrail on the property and will be made of steel or malleable iron. The proposed windows for the vestibule will be Marvin Wood Ultimate. The applicant would prefer insulated glass units with a spacer bar at this location, but Marvin does offer a single glazed option. The proposed door will be made of African mahogany with a preference for insulated glass on the door as well. The proposed vestibule is well proportioned to fit with the existing massing of the house and is appropriately detailed for the house and neighborhood. The applicant has compiled a thorough and very detailed specifications package that outlines all proposed materials for the vestibule construction, and commissioners should have reviewed that thoroughly. And I will just go through some slides really quick. Here we just have the front of the home along with the assessor's map. Here at the top, we have the existing vestibule, which is denoted in the orange dashes that will be removed. And at the bottom of the screen is the proposed new vestibule. Here is just kind of a site plan showing the increase in square footage of the vestibule, along with a photo of how it currently looks. Here again are some side elevation photos that also have the materials noted to show what the new vestibule will look like. Oh, going too quick. I've just included here the provided specifications for the windows. And here we have the proposed gutter style, shingling style, and door style. And again, for materials, we have the decking boards that are proposed to be used, as well as the handrail they are looking to replicate for the new construction. And then at the bottom is the proposed lighting feature. And that concludes my presentation, and I do have the full plan set and specification package handy if commissioners want me to pull up anything specific during their discussion. And I know the applicant is here as well, Elizabeth, if you'd like for them to address the commission.
Of course.
Frank, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to add one thing. The existing vestibule was installed by a previous owner as a temporary feature. And the commission actually approved a design for a similar front vestibule and steps at a hearing on June 11th, 2013. We recognize that the commission members have largely changed since that date, but our current design actually responds to comments that were made during that hearing. We made it slightly smaller than the 2013 design, so it doesn't extend beyond so the eave doesn't extend beyond the corner of the house. And so a shutter wouldn't need to be removed from one of the existing front windows. And we've also simplified the muntin patterns a bit in response to comments made at that hearing. And I'm happy to talk more about our proposal, but I am also happy to just take questions and
Mr. Dill, are you
whatever you
the,
prefer.
are you the owner?
Sorry, I'm the architect.
The architect?
I work for Bigmeister Design Build. The owners are Sean and Carrie Brown, who are both here attending the hearing as well.
Okay.
Sean and Carrie have lived in the house since 2009 when they purchased it and plan to keep living there for the foreseeable future. They've got a long-term investment in the house.
Okay.
The existing vestibule is in sort of really rough shape and badly in need of repair. And that's the reason for our request tonight.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who'd like to comment on this case?
I will give folks a second, but I am not seeing any hands fly up at this time. Going once, going twice, no hands.
Okay. All right, we'll open it up to the commissioners.
Okay. I have a question or two. Well, I should say first, I think the design is fine. I have no objections to the overall design of the new vestibule. I think it's an improvement on what's there. It's definitely an improvement on what's there now. And I think I like the fact that it's a low slope hip roof as opposed to the gable, sort of was painted to call attention to itself. I think this is better. It's more discreet. Just a couple of questions. One is, if I understand this right, you're using a wood window, the wood Marvin window, but you're going to use it with casings as drawn in the elevation, right? So in the detail of the Marvin shown, in my experience with this, it would come without that factory casing that's shown on it. I mean, it would be delivered without casing, and then you'd put your own casing over it, correct? I mean,
Yes. Yes, that's
And-
correct.
So my second question is, why, if you have that double glazed window, why a storm?
I think the intent of the storm is to really protect that wood window and have it
Okay.
last longer.
Yeah,
But also every other window in the house is covered with a storm window.
Yeah.
And so it's to sort of maintain that consistency. But
Okay.
I think it's really about durability though, more than anything.
and my only other question really that I can remember, well, actually there are two, but one is, the treads I think are called out. The dimension given for the new treads implies that they're 10 inches, but wouldn't you, I think generally code requires 11. I mean, maybe you can get away with 10, but wouldn't 11 be better?
11 would be fine. I think there's an exception in the Massachusetts residential code that allows you to go down
Yeah.
even to 9.
On the exterior?
On residences, sure. Commercial buildings, yes, 11, absolutely. But we could certainly, I think the distance would work out to make that 11, so it's sort of 2 boards, which I think makes a lot of
I
sense.
mean, I think for exterior stairs, because of ice and snow, 11 is considered safer. But anyway, and my final question was, I couldn't see that the new basement windows, which will be visible, are called out. Am I right in assuming they're similarly wood double glazed?
We're in different places, we're proposing different things for those basement windows, but the most prominent ones in the front, that windows 1 and 2, which are in the worst condition, we're proposing a wood full frame in-kind replacement So that would be, a heavy frame, a heavy sill, and a relight window in those two cases. Again, there we would like to do double glazed. We would still cover it with a storm, we think, but we could do single glaze as well if that's preferred by the commission.
I see.
That
And
they
the-
make both.
They open in. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's all. That's my questions.
This is David. I think the design is a big improvement on the existing vestibule. It looks kind of tacked on and not really completely thought out. I think the windows should be single glazed though, because we require that on all the fronts of buildings in historic areas. But I think it's a very nice project, and I think it should be approved.
Great. I guess I've got one follow-up question to that. The single glazing on the window in combination with the storm makes a lot of sense to me. It seems a very reasonable solution. The door, we weren't
The
planning.
door, I think we make an exception for the door. I think that's okay. That's the
Okay.
way it is.
I think that'd be helpful.
I think that's in our guidelines that the door is not required to be single glazed.
Great. That'd be great.
Other commissioners?
I have nothing to say, Elizabeth. I think David and Elton covered any questions I had.
Okay. Peter?
Yeah, this is Peter. I have no notes, no
Okay.
additional notes.
Okay. Yes, I think I agree with everyone that what's proposed seems more in keeping, more proportional to the home than what's currently there. Just checking in, Bruce, do you have anything you want to say?
I think they covered it.
Okay, Jean?
The same.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the design of the vestibule and replacement windows as shown, with the exception that because the client is agreeable to it, single glazing will be used in the new windows.
Does that include the basement windows?
Well,
I think it does normally, but Rebecca, do you know, have we made exceptions about that?
You have made exceptions in the past. There are also other cases where you have requested the wood single pane. So I think typically it depends on style of basement window, or at least in the past decisions, it's been style of basement window, visibility from the street, the usual suspects.
Truthfully, I don't know what a storm window would be in that situation. I don't see how it could be easily operable. So I would want a double glazed wood window opening in for ventilation of the basement.
I think a storm there would be fixed.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have any ventilation.
I guess we've got other windows that do operate in the side and back.
You're having a storm anyway there, right?
Our thought was to have a storm just to protect the windows,
All
protect
right,
the wood
then I
better
would-
at that
I
spot.
would
So
not complicate it. Just say use single glazed windows there.
All right.
I see an angry commissioner.
All right. Elton, would you please?
Accept that. Okay, I guess I accept this single glazing requirement.
Would you restate your motion?
Okay, so the motion is to approve the design of the vestibule and the basement windows as shown, with the exception that single glazing will be used in the double hung windows on the side of the vestibule and at the basement windows.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt because I think you're right at the end, but Sean just had a question, and that is, can we do a double glazed and no storm on the basement? And he just wanted to ask that question. And is that a viable option? Sean, is that your preference, would you say?
If I just to the point that was made about the ventilation, it would be nice if we could do a double pane, but also have the thermal protection of the double pane in the basement, if we wanted to, if that's possible.
I think I'd favor it on the same grounds that we favor allowing double glazing in steel casements or casements in general, because you want the operability. And you can't get it with an outward, usually you can't get it with an outward acting storm window.
Right.
But that's me. I mean, the other commissioners should.
Well, it occurs to me there might be situations where you would need that ventilation in the basement, and you don't want to have to, you would want an operable window.
Yeah.
If situation arose where you needed ventilation. So, all right. Does anyone else? So I think we have on the table that the basement windows would be double glazed without a storm, so that they would be operable. Do commissioners want to be heard on that, or can we incorporate that in the motion?
You can incorporate it into the motion from my perspective, Elizabeth.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. All right. One more time, Elton.
Okay. The
From the
revision of
top.
the revision of the revision of the revision is that we accept the design of the vestibule as shown, with the exception that the double hung windows on the side of the vestibule will be single glazed.
All right, I will second that motion. Let's vote. I vote yes. David King,
Yes.
David Jack,
Yes.
Elton,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
and Jean.
Yes.
All right. Good luck with your project.
Thank you so much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
In
it.
touch with your approvals.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Rebecca, Sue, for your help. Thanks, Frank. Take care,
Sure.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night. All right, now we'll move on to public hearings on demolition. And we only have one case tonight, and that is the building that encompasses 14 to 24 Harvard Street. And Mary Beth, I believe this is your case, so we'll open the public hearing for 14 to 24 Harvard.
All right, are y'all able to see my slide?
Yes.
Yep.
Great. All right, so 14 to 24 Harvard Street. On December 23rd, 2025, preservation planners made an initial determination of significance for the commercial building at 14 to 24 Harvard Street. This building is up for full demolition. It is not within a local or a National Register district. It is right outside of the National Register district in this area, but it is not actually within the boundaries. Given the information that's presented in this historical and architectural section of this case report, the Preservation Commission must make a final determination of significance for the building. The single-story commercial structure at 14 to 24 Harvard Street was constructed beginning circa 1910. While the original building permits were not located by staff, the building's Form B on Macris, which is the state inventory site of historic buildings, notes that it was built by Pace and Dana, a Brookline lawyer. and that the south half of the structure was first constructed in 1910, and then the northern half was later constructed in 1912 following the demolition of a house that was on that lot. Early occupants include a harness manufacturing business, a real estate agent office, grocery store, restaurant, and an electrician's office. Dana owned the building until at least 1927, after which an Edwin A. Robert is listed as the owner. The Robert family had an interior decorating and painting company for decades, and they actually occupied one of the storefronts themselves with their business. As many of you are familiar with this building, it has housed various commercial stores and restaurants throughout the 20th and 21st centuries. While it is shorter in height, it does appear to have taken design cues from other buildings, historic buildings surrounding it in this Brookline Village area. Some of the exceptional or of note architectural features include the detailed wood cornice, decorative painted brick pilasters, arched brick window lintels on its side elevations. The building is on a concrete foundation. It features a plate glass storefronts with recessed entryways. There were some changes made to it throughout the 20th century, and then in the 1990s, it underwent a storefront restoration to sort of try to bring it back to a more historical facade. These alterations included a new granite base to the storefronts, as well as rebuilding of those storefronts with stained mahogany and new, more consistent transom areas. The brick pilasters, wood cornices, and overall storefront design was maintained throughout all of these renovations. Since then, the only alteration is that it does appear that one of the recessed entryways was sort of filled in and brought to a flush. But aside from that, the exterior has remained mostly consistent and symmetrical in its design. Preservation planners found the commercial building at 14 to 24 Harvard Street to meet the areas of significance under C and D as outlined by the town. And it is also found that the building retains its integrity of location, design, setting, feeling, materials, and workmanship. All right, just to quickly go over, here's a couple aerials showing sort of the specific commercial block we're looking at. And here it is as well for anyone who needs a reminder. I know this is a very well-known building though. Just a couple of other angles. And here are some photos of the side and rear that sort of show those arched lintels. Just a quick atlas to show it from 1913 as it was completely constructed. And we were able to see some proposed elevations from that 1990s restoration of the building. And that is what I have for the significance report. I'm happy to pull up anything if you guys would like. And I do believe there are representatives here. Yes, Bob Allen is here if you guys have any questions or if you would like to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Mr. Allen, would you like to speak?
If I may, Madam Chair, Madam Chair, members of the board, for the record, my name is Robert Allen. I have a law practice 300 Washington Street in Brookline Village. I'm here with Richard Tuck, who is the owner of the property. And actually, much of what you see of this building from the exterior, from the streetscape, is Mr. Tuck's doing. It was pretty much changed over in the 90s when it pretty much a group of restaurants now. And in order to really have the restaurants work there, the issue was you open the door and the wind comes flying in. So some of the doors had to be recessed to try to figure out a way to block the wind coming in. Before it was just open the door and there were curtains there, and the tenants were really having trouble with it. So, I mean, I understand it's an older building in an older town and it's built in the 1910, but if you really take away the work that was done in the 90s, it's a one-story brick building. right? That's just a shell of a building and there's nothing special about it in the back of it or below it or anything like that. And, you know, it's time to look at alternative options for the building. And certainly if it's found not significant, it gives us the opportunity to move quicker to look at another opportunities. I know we don't talk about other opportunities, but as far as significance, I will say that this board does have a little bit of a track record. You looked at a one-story brick building down on Lower Beacon Street by St. Mary's and found it not significant, but very similar to this, right? It's a one-story building. It's been there a long time, but you know, significance, I'm not sure. I think it looks so good today, thanks to Mr. Tuck and the work he did. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Members of the public, is there anyone who would like to speak as to the significance of this building, which is the only matter that's in front of the commission tonight? We're not talking tonight about future plans, just about the significance of the building.
I'm not seeing any hands raised or anything in the chat. Let's see. In another moment or two. I think y'all are good to proceed.
I guess I'll just have to add my 2 cents to it. My name is Richard Tuck. We've been Brookline property owners since the 1970s. We are not insensitive to the idea that to preservation and for maintaining properties in the appropriate manner in which they should be maintained. The time, however, for this building has come because of the great need for additional housing in the town. That may not be something that you folks are interested in considering, but that is what we're looking to do, is to create something that is attractive, appropriate, and provide some housing for residents as well. And that's the reason for the demolition request.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tuck. We're not supposed to consider that tonight, but we understand it's people are always very tempted to tell us what they're going to do. All right.
Can I tell you what I'd like then as well?
Oh, no.
Let's save that for another night.
Hold your breath for a month.
All right. Then hearing nothing from the public, commissioners, what say you?
This is Dave. I'll be happy to start off. I agree with Mr. Tuck and with Mr. Allen. I feel the building is old, and it has been a presence on Harvard Street for over a century. The building is not, as Mary Beth pointed out, it is not in the National Register district area. So there's no protections for the building from preservation standpoint. I know I'm kind of walking on a gray line here, but I know that this was also a matter of town discussion back when the town was contemplating the MBTA Communities Act. And because I don't see any historic significance of the structure, and because also within the National Register district in Brookline Village, we recently approved demolition of a single-story structure. So I feel comfortable in declaring the building not significant.
Okay, I'll go. Yeah, I find myself in the unusual situation of agreeing with Bobby Allen. I look
Thank
at
you,
it.
Alton.
You're welcome. I look at it and I'm not sure if any original material, except the brick piers, probably. I'm just guessing the brick piers, if they were originally unfaced, that's probably the original look. But the granite base is not. The windows are not. the transom lights are not, and the cornice, either the cornice is relatively new or it's so well taken care of, it looks like it's relatively new. So it doesn't leave much that I can be sure is actually historic in what's left of the building. I mean, it's very handsome. I mean, I think it's been well maintained and I've enjoyed dining there and drinking there, but I don't think it makes it historic. Except I'm historic, so maybe it does.
David?
Say you, Mr. King.
I agree. I feel the same way. I feel like it's a good looking building, but it's not something that we should declare significant.
Well, I'll just say, my wife and I are going to have our 25th anniversary soon. We had our first date at Matt Murphy's in that building. So it's incredibly significant to me. And it will be a really heartfelt loss, but I think architectural significance and otherwise it's not there.
Yeah, here.
You'll sneak in your anniversary, Peter.
I'll get it in.
There's no more Matt Murphy though.
No, I have to go to. I have to see Siobhan. Siobhan has a restaurant down on in P-Town, so she's comped us a few times.
Well, as I remember, I think, Peter, you helped lead the charge to find was it the Japanese bakery? It was one of the buildings down in St. Mary that Mr. Allen was referring to that we found not significant, kind of on the same grounds that it is basically a one-story brick building. And I'm persuaded by that. I would also find it to be not significant. Bruce, do you have anything to say?
No, I agree with everything said. I don't think it's significant at all.
Okay, Jean?
Well, I like those restaurants, but I'd hate to see the restaurants go, but I can't help but agree with the general mood here.
All right. Well, in that case, I will make a motion that we find the building to be not significant. Do we have a second?
I'll second Elizabeth.
Thank you, Dave. I vote, okay, the motion is to find the building not significant. I vote yes. David King?
Yes.
David Jack?
Yes.
Elton?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
And Jean?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your reasonableness.
And
Good luck.
very much.
I'll be in touch with your decision letters by the end of the week.
And Mr. Tuck, I want to thank you very much for taking such good care of that building during your ownership period.
We hope to replace it with something that we all will be proud of as well.
Looking forward to hearing from you again soon.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to other business. We have the project at 40 Kent and 40 Webster, which was on last month's agenda, and we carried it forward to this month because we wanted more commissioners and particularly some of the architects to be present when we made this decision. And I believe that Rebecca is going to give us the initial presentation on this case.
Yep, I just threw together a couple slides just so commissioners and maybe members of the public are kind of aware of what we're looking at here. Here I just have a photo of the porch on 40 Kent and kind of the overview aerial map of both 40 Kent and 40 Webster. And so for this project, I'm going to read from my slides. The applicant is proposing a major impact project and public benefit incentive for height and FAR bonus at the location, what is now 40 Kent and 40 Webster. 40 Kent Street, which is the Italianate style building, is being proposed to be relocated closer to the two-family district and rehabilitated for use, while 40 Webster is proposed to be documented via measured architectural drawings and photographs and then demolished. The height and FAR bonus will be granted to the new 5-story building. And the Preservation Commission's role in this, as per the zoning, which I have on the next slides if we want to look at that language, is to advise the Board of Appeals in connection with the design review of changes affecting the structure in question, which is the 40 Kent Street structure. And commissioners should have received the preservation package that was prepared by the applicants. It was the same package that was seen at last month's hearing. And then I don't think, here, a cover sheet and the 40 Webster building, just for reference as to what package commissioners should have been reviewing. And then I have some of the language from zoning, which I can pull up if there are questions later on during our discussion, or if commissioners want to spend time, but I have it just super handy. And then tonight as well, we have Maria Morelli here to also assist to answer any questions. She is the senior planner for zoning and regulatory. And we have a bunch of people from the project team here able to answer questions on the more architecturally specific elements of the preservation package.
All right, well, Maria, would you like to speak? And
thank you very much, Elizabeth. Again, I'm associated with this project because I worked with the planning board during a pre-application stage. So for major impact projects, the planning board can decide to appoint a design advisory team. And that's before any application is submitted to the ZBA under the zoning. And so what took place, there was a group that consisted of some architects from the planning board, some architects from the community, and abutters representing the community. And what I was really happy to see was that there was an appointment from the Preservation Commission. Peter Kleiner served that role, and that was extremely helpful. We don't always see a blend of planning board and Preservation Commission commissioners working on a design advisory team, but this was particularly helpful. So what occurred there were several revisions to the 5-story building, as well as the decision to relocate the building. That was not part of the initial proposal. It was really to have this 5-story building closer to the two-family district, and actually, and so this was something that was actually, I'm sorry, it was going to be closer to the two-family district and attached to the 40 Kent structure that fronts on Kent Street. So what happened during the design review stage was very productive. It yielded the results that Rebecca just described. I do want to emphasize that your role is simply to look at the preservation package. The Zoning Board of Appeals gets to determine to what extent those bonuses for height and floor area ratio will be granted. They may certainly come back to you. It's certainly helpful for them to see, a letter or a memo describing your reaction to the preservation package. And during their hearing process, they can always elect to come back to you for more technical information. So if you want to go through, the purview of your review or any other questions related to the upcoming zoning process, I'm happy to speak to that.
Great. Thank you, Maria.
Well, Peter, not to put you on the spot, but since you were on the design advisory team, do you have any thoughts for the commission about this project?
Yeah, I was on the team. The design team and the development team were very considerate of the concerns of the public, and trying to accommodate a plan and a massing that worked, as well as tried to preserve, to the extent possible, this structure, which is really sort of a notable structure on the street. And I think that there was a really good effort to create something that provided the level of development that was appropriate for this location while maintaining this building, albeit relocating it on site. So I think it was greatly appreciated, that effort and the teamwork that went into doing that. There are some clear changes to that structure, making changes to areas that had been modified previously, and making it more in keeping as a building in the round as it'll be perceived. So I don't have any more specific comments on it. I think that I really do appreciate the work that was done by the development committee.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll ask whether there are any members of the public who wanted to speak on this project. I'm not sure we have to take public comment, but it seems like if there are members of the public here who want to be heard, that would be an okay thing to do, a good thing to do.
I'm not seeing any interested public comments at this time.
All right, so our task is to look at, in order to decide, in order to advise the zoning board whether or not, in our opinion, this project is meeting the public benefit by engaging in a project of historic preservation that would give them a bonus in FAR, as in recognition of their providing the public benefit of historic preservation. So we are to look at the relocated 40 Kent Street building that is being preserved and renovated, and advise whether or not we believe that to be, I guess, just a meritorious project for historic preservation. Maria, did I state that correctly in your view?
Yeah, I think, do what you normally do. This is not about changing any policies. So you're really looking at their preservation package, especially for the rehabilitated 40 Kent. And I think, just to focus on that rehabilitation package and comment on it as you would any other project, and not try to be influenced by the fact that this is a public benefits incentive, because the ZBA will determine that proportion and consult with you as necessary.
Okay, very good. All right, commissioners, let's get to it. Okay. I know that I actually, after the last meeting, I talked with Elton and David King about this project and kind of went through and looked at it. And because the applicant had, given that we'd put the project over for a month, they had been very eager for some feedback. And so, Elton or David, would you like to speak to the feedback that you gave them?
Okay. Some of the feedback is outside the exact scope of the work on the building. It's about the location. I think we both felt that if it could be, we were in support of the relocation of this building. Let me say that. And I think the whole commission has met in the past, months ago, and voiced that kind of support. So in general, I think we are in support of this. We thought that if it could be moved slightly to its left, slightly, I mean slightly, closer to the left property line, and it would reduce a sense of crowding with the very large new building next to it. Particularly, I think, this is me speaking personally, particularly because the canopy on that new building, overhangs really the edge, the right-hand face of the relocated 40 Kent. So that's one thing, location. Also, I think David and I both would much prefer that the original arrangement of dormers were kept instead of going to one big shed dormer in the attic. Keep the arrangement of 4 individual dormers. As far as the package go, I think there's just a few notes that I make. I have concerns about the chimney reconstruction, the so-called false chimney, and concerns about the windows. Regarding the chimney, I personally very much don't like the use of this thin brick. It's basically essentially a tile. And it's not nearly as durable, I think, in the long run as using a full brick, which would reduce the weight from the existing chimney, which is more than 1 white thick, but still a real brick as opposed to a tile pretending to be a brick. And furthermore, I don't know how you'd replicate that shape, which is a fairly ornamental shape, in the chimney using tiles. I mean, I think that can easily be done with bricks, but not tiles. I know that means structural support, but it's been done many times. Regarding the windows, I think these are vinyl windows. We don't generally, or we have any amount of power, permit vinyl windows. I'm not sure why they're being used. There are alternates that are not wood that are preferable, in our opinion, generally to vinyl. And because there's no details shown of the intersection of the new windows, the vinyl windows, with the very handsome existing sills and casing of the existing building, I don't particularly at this point trust the use of those windows. I've gone online, I've tried to obtain the details of those windows. I can't so far. So I don't even know how they shape up against a Marvin doing similar work. I mean, maybe they do present well, and just dimensionally, maybe they don't. But I don't think vinyl is a material we want to be using on a historic building.
I think, we finished, Elton?
Yeah.
It looked to me in this package like the dormer was smaller, actually. The side dormers that are replacing the small dormer windows on each side of the building, it looked to me it was still one big dormer, but maybe it was just the way the model looked in the previous renderings, but it looked like that dormer had been reduced a little bit. And one other point that I think we made was that the relationship of the 2 awnings it makes a kind of nice plaza, the relationship of those 2 buildings. And the relationship of those 2 awnings is really important to creating that space. And maybe it's worth taking another closer look at how that's actually detailed and how those 2 talk to each other. And I agree about the chimney. Either, if it's not a full brick chimney, then there should be no chimney, because a simulated chimney is not something we have on historic buildings.
Rebecca, I don't know if you can speak to this, but if there are vinyl windows, are they replacement in kind?
This is kind of an odd case because it's neither LHD nor National Register. The vinyl window replacement is not something we typically review for National Register properties, but in an LHD, if it was vinyl to vinyl, that would be an in-kind replacement.
But what is it in this situation?
This is you are giving your advisory opinion on what materials are appropriate for a historic building.
Okay.
There's a hodgepodge there right now, Madam Chair, of windows, right? When it was the Elks, as they replaced, they put in whatever Elk member could get a deal on a window. That's really honest and truth.
Okay.
But if can I address a couple of things, Madam Chair? First of all, I'm here with Trina Murphy, who's the owner rep, and Peter King, our architect, is here. And I think David King was right. Peter, Rebecca was kind enough to send us your thoughts, and I think Peter did make some changes to the dormers, and he's happy to walk you through it. I'll just say a couple of things. Our original project didn't have either of the buildings, and we were looking for our public benefits through some transportation and some affordable housing benefits. But as you heard from Peter and Maria, everything kind of changed. I mean, we would have had 400 neighbors on this call if we were still here for that. Everything changed when we talked about moving the building and giving some space. And the only thing I'm reluctant about moving it closer to the one single family that's actually on Webster Street is that owners kind of bought into it with that distance. We're pretty close to the side yard setback, if not at the side yard setback, but we can look at it further and we can talk to that abutter. We've built up a good relationship, but it was thanks to Peter and Matt Hyatt, it was a really good design advisory team. And by the end of it, we had full support from the neighborhood. So I am a little reluctant, Elton, to kind of go back and try to move it at all. But certainly if we're talking about, foot or two, and we can certainly talk with the neighbor about it, we still have to go to the planning board and go through that process. So it's certainly something we can look at, and certainly we can look at windows and the chimney issue that you brought up.
Great.
Sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair.
No, your input is very helpful. Other commissioners? I'm a little I'm a little unclear whether, given the feedback that was provided and then Mr. Allen, your response to it, that you look at it some more and can take it under consideration, whether this is going to come back to us again, or whether we should be trying to reach a consensus or a vote tonight.
Well, I'll yield to Maria as to that, but I think that I can't, we still have to go through the ZBA process, and ultimately the ZBA is going to decide. I think if you read the bylaw, literally, they're looking for your feedback. Is this significant? Is it worth preserving? And if it is worth preserving, what are some of the things that concern you about the changes that have been made from its original state? But I will also add there's a ton of improvements from its initial state. If anybody's had the chance to go by and look at it, it is in very rough condition, and we're spending significant money to restore a lot of it. But I know like slate roofs were mentioned last time, and that just doesn't fit into our budget, unfortunately. This project has really changed as they typically do as you make compromises. But we'll continue to find ways, and certainly your feedback is helpful when we go to the ZBA to see what they feel are their priorities.
Yes, and I would add, Elizabeth, if you could comment on the amount of rehabilitation, just to acknowledge that this is, a structure that is not in great shape. There is an effort to rehabilitate it. It would be closer to, in terms of scale, with the two-family district, which it actually is appropriate. There are a lot of apartment buildings that are really dwarfing 40 Kent as it is now. So, it would be moved, and that certainly gives it pride of place. And if you have comments about changes that you are suggesting, you can certainly put that in your letter. And that's something that the ZBA can certainly amplify in their discussions with the applicant. And that doesn't all need to be wrapped up tonight. I think of this as perhaps a iterative process, and that you are here as a technical, your expertise is here as a technical resource to the ZBA is something that they will return to you as necessary.
All right. So it seems to me that commissioners, let's take it to the commissioners for a few minutes and let's talk about, is this project far enough along? Have we seen, evidence of public benefit and historic preservation? Would we be comfortable at this point writing a letter in support of it, but giving the feedback that that's been identified as advice? I mean, I don't think that in a project like this, speaking for myself, I don't see this as a matter where we would want to withhold support until we had every single thing done exactly the way we would want it to be done. I mean, I think this is a big project, and it's got a lot of moving parts. There's a lot that's been done to preserve and restore a historic property. What do people think? Would you be comfortable moving forward with, writing a letter with some caveats or some feedback? I guess I'm kind of putting that out there as a suggestion, and
I think that sounds great.
okay.
And Elizabeth, I think we're all in agreement that the building is considered historically significant, and that it is a good thing that the building is being saved. I want to thank Elton and David for their comments, because that is, if the building is to be rehabilitated, these are the sort of details that the Preservation Commission is going to be interested in. Having said that, as Elizabeth pointed out, there are just a lot of moving pieces. I'm glad to see the building being saved. I'm comfortable with its being relocated. And I think David and Elton provided a good set of guidelines about what would be important elements to consider when rehabilitating the historic structure.
Peter, what do you think?
I think some of the comments, if this were a historic building, and in that we were in a district where some of the comments regarding the windows are appropriate. I think the siding of the building went through a lot of iterations, and I as much as I may want some space there or think about that, I know how difficult it was to get to this point. Regarding the windows, the thing is, I believe, if I'm understanding right, those are not vinyl, they're fiberglass, and that there's some reasons for that in terms of performance. So I realize that's not necessarily a preservation wood window, but I don't know that this building is requiring that as part of that development. So that's where I'm trying to skate the line of like what's appropriate for this project versus meeting the intents of the preservation goals.
Peter, when the note here regarding the windows on the drawings is glass fiber reinforced PVC.
I think it's a fiberglass pultrusion window.
Oh, if it were, I would say fine. But when I went online, that doesn't say that. And when I went online, it didn't seem like that. I think they were being referred to online as vinyl, but I can't swear to it. If it's fiberglass, like many of the pultrusions that like Marvin has, or I think fine. It's a different material entirely than vinyl.
Yeah,
Fiberglass, Elton, I can represent that. It's not vinyl.
It is not vinyl.
That is correct.
It is fiberglass. Okay.
That is correct.
Do you know why it says PVC then?
I don't know, but Peter Quinn may be able to answer that question.
Thank you. Yeah, Peter Quinn or Peter Quinn Architects. It is a fiberglass window. I think originally it was written as PVC, and the drafter just didn't edit that out. But it is not a vinyl window. It is
Oh.
definitely fiberglass.
Okay, I mean,
It's a proprietary fiberglass, that this company has, but it is a fiberglass. And as you know, fiberglass is also recyclable, so we pretty much exclusively use it on most of our projects now, so.
I can never fully explain it, but I think fiberglass is a more noble material than
Yeah, I know.
vinyl. So I think, I mean, personally, I'd be okay with fiberglass as a material. I don't know
Yeah.
this particular window or its details. But as a material, I think I would withdraw my objection if it's
Yeah.
not vinyl.
Mr. Quinn, since we have you, are you in a position to speak at all to the issue of the thin brick chimney?
Yeah, sure. It's a point well taken that it's hard to get the detail. You can get the basic component parts in thin brick. Thin brick is a ceramic material. It is a brick material. It's just put on differently. We do have thin brick on the main building. But to get the detailed chimney, it is hard. If there's a possibility of just not having the chimney, that would certainly be fine with us. But the only thing I can say is that at this point, we couldn't guarantee that we could get the same level of detail with the thin brick that the current chimney has, because there are several different kind of thinnings of the profile as it goes up with the rounded bricks or with shelf bricks and that kind of thing, which are unique, castings. So, maybe you're right. Maybe we're heading into, a disappointment on that.
Yeah, I think that's a good note. The corbelling is going to be difficult, and I don't use thin brick, so I know that the product reps have some. They'll say they can do things, but it is a valid concern.
Yeah, I mean, every now and then you'll find a model that has a couple of alternative pieces that look historic and so forth, but then it will be a different texture than something you want. So, the thin brick is really kind of very modernistic material, flat, minimal changes of plane, all that kind of thing.
Well, commissioners, are we open to the idea, as it was suggested, that better no chimney than a thin brick chimney? Could we see the elevation, so we can be looking at the chimney as we talk about this?
If somebody could
I'm
just allow
asking-
me to share. Yep.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I was just asking Rebecca to put up a.
Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah.
It's a set back on the other side of the dormer.
Right. Yeah.
So towards the rear of the site. So
if you go down a few pages, you'll find it more detailed. One more, I think.
I know the neighbor in the rear would be happy if the chimney was gone. For what that's worth, he's mentioned it.
I could live without the chimney. I hope Judy Selwyn's not listening to this.
You'll have a phone call waiting for you, David.
And I think actually the siting of the building is really an improvement to where it was, because you really appreciate the front loggia. And so I think that's really a good thing for the building. So I would support moving on this tonight and moving towards a letter tonight.
I'm just trying to figure out I'm glad to hear that. And I want to poll the commissioners to see if people are on the same page. I'm trying to figure out what's left in the list of feedback that we want to, call out in the letter.
And one of the only other things that I might consider commenting on, and this is sort of the difficulty of the restoration plan as it's called out, is much of the ornamental work and the woodwork is called for basically retaining, but scraping, patching is required. But it doesn't highlight things where the extent of repair and versus replacement. There are some things that may require replacement as the work is done. And I don't know that I would recommend the FIPON with that as a replacement rather than just doing more traditional, epoxy wood fill. So I mean, that's one of the only other things. I think the intent of retaining as much of that and repairing it as possible is wonderful. And I'm hoping it as much of it possible as good sound old wood.
May I respond to that, Madam Chair?
Sure.
Yeah. So I agree with Peter Kleiner about that. We generally, when we're doing restoration work, we try to offer the whole variety of ways to repair things so that it all gets done, in the best manner possible. But the only place that we really call out the FIPON is for replacement of the corbels, which there will be the need to make a half a dozen or so of those, maybe a dozen. And the only way I've ever gotten those done before is either some kind of FIPON or foam that is then, had a cast over it of, like a harder material. So, we'll inevitably have to do that. And everything else is just like you said, Peter, is a like a Bondo agent or, some kind of epoxy material that gets filled and sanded in order to smooth it back out. Yeah. But I also will say that the trim on this building is in remarkably good shape for having been neglected for 50 years. Like there's, like you can really get this thing back to a sharp looking trim appearance with, sanding, sanding and scraping and some filling and then painting.
Hey, if I could offer, this isn't to say that it is any better, but it's an alternative. There's a fly ash molding company.
We use that too.
Yeah. So that would be another alternate that could easily do those.
Sometimes, when what's that called? It's
Duration is one of the manufacturers.
Right. It's nice stuff. And they can, not dangerous and people can just cut it with a regular carpentry tool. So
yeah.
I'm looking at the manufacturer's description of their windows. And they say much stronger. They're claiming they have a new combination of fiberglass reinforcing vinyl. Much stronger than traditional PVC. This exclusive hybrid framing material rivals the strength. With PVC as the dominant component, its exceptional insulating properties and longevity remain in full force. So they're saying that the PVC is the dominant material, but it has fiberglass extruded in it and makes it stronger. I don't know what that means. I mean, like I said, we do not like generally PVC windows in historic houses. I haven't seen this window. I don't know where. Is it? Maybe it's made. I don't think of it as an American window. Is it significantly less expensive than a Marvin Elements, for example, which is extruded fiberglass?
I have to defer to a client on that.
Hi, good evening. The windows it's a German brand, and the windows that we have, that we purchase are manufactured in Turkey, and they are significantly cheaper. So sorry.
No, thanks.
So there is a big difference, but it does have a fiberglass component to it, and we can share greater specs for the windows as well. So you have more detail on it. And I apologize that we were not more prepared for an in-depth discussion this evening. And the fiberglass will also have a wood grain texture to it, so it will have an appearance of being.
That's even worse. But one doesn't want wood grain texture in wood. It's wood. Real wood windows don't have wood grain texture. So that's actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because it alerted me. Wood grain texture. It's like putting wood grain texture on clapboard.
If
You
it's
know,
not your
like real-
preference, we can certainly change it. We
I-
we don't have a preference one way or the other.
Has anyone on the DAT seen physical samples of the window?
Physical samples?
Yeah.
No, in a remote
We're
meeting.
not at that stage.
Okay, I think maybe the decision should be postponed until there are physical samples, so one can do a comparative analysis.
I think go back to what the chair was saying, those are the things that go in the letter and ultimately the ZBA decides
Yeah,
on this issue. So I think as the chair was asking for, what Peter had mentioned and what you had mentioned are kind of the basis, I think, of what the chair was asking for, what should be included in this letter.
yeah.
Not to speak for Elizabeth, who does fine speaking on her own.
I'm thinking that we should ask Mr. Quinn about the dormers because those were raised and so maybe Mr. Quinn, can you clarify for us whether you made any alterations to the dormers, whether you considered the feedback that that was given to you about the dormers?
Yes, we have. So the issue for us is that we need to have an adequate headroom in that third attic level of the, the 40 Kent building. That is a unit, probably a 1 to 2 bedroom, 1.5 bedroom. And it needs, the way the building is constructed right now, the hip comes in very, very low to the wall plate so that there is headroom under the existing dormers, but they're kind of wall-eyed off to the edges. And that was a problem because then everything in between the two, you can't really stand up or use it. And, it would be a shame not to be able to use this upper level for a residence. It's going to be a very, very, very cool kind of space, kind of European feel. So what we were proposing, if I may share my screen for a second, is that possible? Yes.
I defer to Rebecca on that. Is
Yeah.
that possible, Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm all set. So what we had proposed in the last meeting was to take away the 2 small dormers that sit off to the corners of the hip roof. There's 2 more on the opposite side of the building as well, and then replace it with this setup of 4 windows in the center area. And this would be duplicated on the opposite side as well, giving us headroom that we need in order to get the floor plan to work properly. We since took a look at this and thought, what if we just left these dormers where they are and try to span between them, maybe with another dormer? And so let me just show you what we were thinking about that and see if that is acceptable. So this is a kind of a, if you will, a trick of the eye, where the dormers are set up to look like, regular dormers, but then there's a wall between them that's recessed behind it. And that wall has the roofing material on it typically. It could also have clapboard. We'd like to do it, in the wall. If this is a textured asphalt, we would probably carry it up or something similar to it. And then there's a flat roof that links them all back to the hips. This gives a nice kind of composition to the whole setup of windows and dormers, and also gives us headroom in our layout. So we have the existing dormer here, and then we put a duplicate in the middle and then connect them with a raised ceiling. And then do the opposite, on the opposite side, we do the same thing, mirrored. Just as a quick layout of the third floor. Kitchens and other elements haven't been added yet, but you can see there'll be a bedroom back there and so forth. So that is, and remember, these are also now on the side of the building, not facing the street, so they're a little less visible, and certainly the one on the opposite side, you know, would hardly see it. Because it's facing the new building. But that was what we wanted to, you know, perhaps suggest as a response to the comments that have been given by the board, by the commission.
I think that's kind of interesting. I mean, is a very low slope roof now, right, of the
Yeah.
dormer?
The dormer is essentially flat. It's essentially, you know, it's just a.
Could they be, are they higher than the previous dormers?
No, this is.
Same height?
Same height, same dormer.
I see.
Yep.
Huh.
But just, you know, framed out to match. By the way, that material is called boral, B-O-R-A-L, which is the wood with a flat ash in it. That would, you know, makes it easy to make these shapes, and they resist rot and all that.
Is it possible to make the windows slightly larger and the casing slightly narrower?
You mean to modify the historic fabric?
Yeah.
Yes, of course, they could be a little bigger. Yeah.
But what do other people think?
You're saying get rid of the original, I mean, they're preserving the original dormers there. And
Yeah,
you're
that's
saying,
what
what
they
are
are.
you saying, Elton?
Well, are they really? Because how can the original dormers do they have no slope?
Yeah, they really don't.
Oh.
I've looked at it. I mean, it could be like a 1/16 of an inch or something, or it could be a little crown in it that you can't see.
I think that is one of the odd things in the new elevations, that the shed slope is so prominent in the elevation. Maybe in reality it's not, because of course, you know, seen from the ground. I mean, the trick of the elevation.
I know. When you look up, you can hardly
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
Peter, are you
show
getting
the
adequate
old-
head height and thermal performance of the roof there?
Yeah. See, the floor level is actually quite a bit lower down here.
Much lower.
Yeah. So these would be almost functioning like you know, you fit a bed underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of height.
Could you show the old scheme as well as the
Yeah.
new one?
Just give me a second. This being the old scheme. Yeah. And there we were actually, changing your slope.
I mean, it's a funny thing to do, but I think having the original dormer shape aligned with the windows below it is nice. Is a nice thing.
You mean this alternative we're presenting tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, where they stack up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. After drawing this, I was surprised by how good it looked, because I thought, oh, there's no way.
Yeah.
But,
Wish I thought of that, right, Peter?
yeah.
Yeah, we like it too.
And I mean, and I think that what I hadn't thought of it before, but this is preferable also to what the new proposed dormer that was doing to the roof. It cuts way down into the roof then.
Yeah. So I just keep it very flat. I mean, I may end up with a membrane, but you don't see it because it's all, tilted away from you, down the ground.
Isn't the older dormer thinner? I mean, the old one was 13 feet across. Yeah, it sort of lines up between the windows. And this one goes to the edge of the windows. The new one goes to the edge of the windows. So from the front of the building, wouldn't you perceive the altered one more than the original one?
It's closer to the existing condition though.
Yeah, I think this one may be missing a little bit of trim here, at the corners. Yeah. But we were changing the slope, to be, kind of a little steeper. Yeah. The whole new dormer, the old dormers, which are right here, would be removed and the roof would be rebuilt.
I mean, this is such a different, this that we're looking at now is such a different animal than that. I think this kind of odd triple arrangement, that it's better. I think it's better. I mean, it's more in keeping with the historic house.
Yeah, I think it's better too.
Nice to have the windows relate to what's below.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. That's
Yeah,
why
That's
This
it's
whole thing
really,
is built on these simple symmetries. all through
Yeah.
The whole thing.
yeah. Well, if it's enough light for them up there in their bedrooms, I think it makes us happy.
Well, this cupola up there is,
Is that gonna give light?
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, really? So you have glass up there behind the, what do you have, a skylight?
It's, the arches actually have glass behind them.
Wow. Good Lord.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
is there,
it's an
is there a
amazing
s-
space.
is there a stair up there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, well then.
Good rental unit for you someday, Elton.
Couldn't afford it.
Give me a call.
Okay.
Okay, where are we on, is there anything else, architects or other commission members? Anything else? We have this nice opportunity where we have the architect to explain things to us. Anything else we want to get into before we move forward on this? We've talked about the dormers. I think we've talked about the desire to move the property slightly over, which would be difficult. We've talked about the chimney. We've talked about the windows. Do we need to talk about how the awnings relate to one another? That was something that was brought up as feedback.
Can we see that? Is that in somebody's
Yeah.
drawings?
You mean
Yeah, I
the,
just need-
do you mean the 3D model?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, just give me a second. Yeah, so. There again. Now, these are not fully rendered models. These are just kind of more like massing models. But this is our envisioning of the plaza without landscaping in place. But you can see how prominent the 40 Kent front porch loggia, as it is called, is relative to the new building's canopy. Yeah, I think the idea here is that both buildings have a presence on this plaza, represented primarily by their front porches. So they're each a little different, they're one's contemporary, one's historic, one's raised up higher, kind of setting up a a little bit of a dialogue with the more contemporary at-grade handicap accessible entry. So that's what we see going on here. And by the way, you can see the dormer that we were originally proposing off here, and you just even with the added slope, you don't really see the top of it.
It just seems like and I don't know what the right solution here is, but you have the lower awning on the higher building and the much more elaborate detailed awning on the historic building, which I guess makes sense, but
Yeah, I think we're worried that if we were bringing this up here, the new building, that we would then immediately start to dwarf this.
Yeah,
this whole-
I
this
think
whole
that's
building,
true.
And I think if you look at it really from the point of view of the pedestrian, there really is kind of like a hierarchy between the two, that the historic building has the greater presence just in the plaza. But you know where the entrance to the main building is. It's kind of doing both things at once.
When I first saw this, I wondered if you could go awningless in the new building because
Yeah.
you do have a recess to the doors and
Yeah,
maybe
true.
and then there's a projection of the entry vestibule that could
Yeah.
be maybe reduced a little. I know you like the idea of the columns echoing the columns in the historic building.
Yeah. I mean, do you think they compete
I don't
to the
know.
detriment?
I think
Maybe.
it's okay. I just,
maybe.
it looks kind of bare, the new awning. I mean, maybe it's just a question of how it's detailed, and maybe, you know, it'll be more elaborate, more interesting as it's, you know, it goes into construction drawings. Just
Yeah, well,
it seems
definitely have to
very
wait.
simple schematic, and the other one looks so ornate.
I
I'm
could,
not sure.
oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, I think the whole entry facade there could evolve and become more elegant. And maybe it would lose its canopy and its columns, but become, because I've certainly seen modern entrances, which are extraordinarily beautiful, really.
Yeah,
I think.
the DAT has had a number of iterations of
Oh,
this
you have,
condition.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think like this is maybe not the last one or the favored one, but
Yeah.
you know, I think it's interesting to hear, you know, this response to it. There's been some study of this, and I think it's worth. Yeah, it's. I'm not sure where we're at in terms of making everyone satisfied with it.
Yeah, I think it's really, I think it's close, but it just,
yeah,
you know, like maybe the door should be higher, the mullions thinner. It's just I don't know, the projection of the vestibule. I mean, you need the airlock, I guess, but I don't know.
We could, that could be just something that you advise the planning board to revisit. I want to echo what Peter Kleiner said, that there was an effort to make the new building a backdrop to 40 Kent. So it would not compete with it in terms of the hierarchy of the canopies, but actually to have elements that would speak to each other to really, so that they would look associated. Because if you look down Webster Place, there is kind of like a welcome to this building. So, you know, just that canopy kind of announces that it's a residential entrance and a welcome to the people who are going to be occupying that residence. But I think what's important for us to hear, is there anything about that canopy that is competing or overshadowing the historic structure? Because that will be key for the planning board and the ZBA to hear. But we can also take your suggestion, certainly in terms of aesthetics, about revisiting the relationship of these two canopies.
No, I don't think it overshadows the.
Okay. Yeah, that's important to know.
I think it is competing, but I'm not sure. I mean, have you tried it without the canopy?
Yeah, we have.
And
it's just, it's kind of like the lack of a presence. It feels like it needs some kind of presence. All the storefront windows in the world don't really give it that. But the thing that would really be helpful for us as designers is to know that, you know, when you look at this, the 40 Kent building feels about right. You know, that it's raised up a little, it's got these generous front steps. You know, I didn't design the canopy that it has, but, you know, we've made go into some measures to try to, you know, preserve it and get it in the right place. So.
Yeah, I think it does. It's doing pretty well. My suggestion that a foot or two of movement to the left of it wasn't really based on this image, but more a straight on elevation where you see how the canopy of the new building crowds it, you know, and I agree, you don't see that in every view. I mean, if you look at this in plan, the canopy, I think, is actually tangent with the face of 40 Kent.
You might also not be seeing the landscaping. That's there really is like a beautiful landscaping plan that is complementing this work,
Right.
and that might also soften and integrate these two structures as well. I just wanted to point that out.
This is, yeah.
And Peter, you wasted no time in getting rid of that chimney.
I think my drafting staff is, no, we're not doing chimneys today.
Okay. Well, I'll ask the architects on the project. You have the commissioners here. Are there any questions you want to ask us? And there don't need to be any.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, okay.
We got your feedback and we tried to address what we could.
Yes, I think we've got a lot of good information. All right.
Very helpful. The process has been very helpful.
Good. This was what we were missing last month, and I'm glad we were able to get to it tonight, and I'm sorry that, you know, that it had to be put over. All right, let me take it just to the commissioners for a moment so we can kind of have a go around and see where we're at. So are people okay with the sort of the idea that we're going to move forward, write a letter in support, laying out some of the feedback we've given, and it sounds like this won't be the final word. Perhaps we may or may not see this project again, but are we on the same page with that? David King?
Yes.
David Jack?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yep.
And Jean?
Yes.
Okay.
And Elton.
And Elton.
Elton who?
Yes.
We're quiet for too long, Elton.
Sorry about
a
that.
rare incident.
Okay, well, I'll just ask the commissioners, do we need any more discussion tonight? Have we got it?
I think we got it.
There's one question I have for Peter is with the windows. Are you proposing triple glazing as a replacement window?
I haven't done that energy analysis yet. I know there's a carve out on, you know, some of the stretch code for historic buildings. So given that and sort of complexity, you know, I don't know this window that well either. It's something selected by the owner. So, you know, we'll find out. We did use these windows on another project that we did for the owner, and they came out fine. That was at 55 Green Street. So, you know, I'm pretty sure those are just double glazed, though. To answer your question.
Yeah.
So we could see these windows at 55 Green?
No.
I don't know if they're the exact model or not.
They're not. That's not a good representation of the.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Rebecca,
Yes.
are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my headset turned off and on, but I think I'm okay now.
Do we have enough clarity to write a letter with the
I
discussion?
believe so. I will run down my list here. I have, you would prefer full dimension.
You're cutting out. Yeah. Can't hear you. Okay, but we can't hear you. But I'd gone down the list. So I have my notes and we've gone down the list. Is there anything you want to put in the chat that we need to address?
This was the end of the meeting.
It lasted a long time.
All right. Okay. In that case, I'm going to make a motion that the commission writes a letter in support of the public benefit incentive package for the preservation of 40 Kent Street, and that we include in the letter some of the feedback that we discussed tonight for the ZBA to consider.
Right. And the
Really
response-
quick.
And the
Go.
responses to the feedback too, right? I mean, in
What?
other words, and the responses to the feedback, things were negotiated here with.
I
team.
mean, well, I'll collaborate on the letter with Rebecca. It's not gonna be, I guess the answer is yes, but I'm not sure how much we've nailed down every single item.
Mhm.
Really
But-
quickly, Rebecca, you can shake yes or no if I'm on the right track with this. I think that we might just want to get like strong confirmation from the commission that you're okay with the plan for 40 Webster. And it's not being preserved. And that would probably be good to like have in the language that, even though this one is not being preserved, we're still happy with the preservation the project is doing.
Mhm.
Yes, and the mitigation that involves documentation of 40 Webster Place.
Okay, yes, we would like to, we'll need to outline that in the letter as well then. So just to address that and make sure the commission's on the same page about the fate of that building as well.
It also has things for salvage, which I don't know where we keep things that are salvage, but from my recollection of what's on site, I don't know that there's something that's significant that we'd want to deal with the storage cost for.
Just to clarify with Elton, can you give me an example of what you want included in the letter?
Oh, what I meant was that we raised objections, some of us, to the new dormer, and a response that it felt like we approved of, or without a vote, was this idea of keeping the two existing dormers and adding a third between them, and that wall that's set back from the face of the dormers. That seemed, I think, I didn't hear anyone saying that was a bad idea, and some of us thought it was a really good idea. So I just include that process in the letter, I would think. Also, I mean, it seemed like, well, anyway, you already got that we looked like we were giving up the chimney. We didn't vote on it, but it disappeared while we're sitting here.
That was
Yeah,
the
I
informal
think-
consensus.
We didn't vote on every single item,
Mhm.
but there was a discussion, there was feedback received, and I think that that I feel like we can capture that.
Yeah, because
In the
it's a
letter.
letter, right, going to the ZBA.
Yeah, okay. So I made a motion that we should write such a letter. Would somebody like to second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, David. Let's vote. I vote yes. David King,
Yes.
David Jack,
Yes.
Elton,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
and Jean.
Yes.
All right, excellent. And Rebecca, I will talk to you about the letter.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my goodness, I'll draft something and I'll send it to you, Elizabeth.
Okay, good, great. I appreciate it.
Gosh.
Thank you. Appreciate
All
all your
right, I
time.
think
Thank
I
you very
think
much.
that wraps up. Unless the developer, the applicant, was there anything else you guys wanted to say before we wrap up?
Nope.
You good?
We're good.
Just
Have a good night.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
All right,
And
and
thank you, Maria, for being here to answer zoning questions. We appreciate that.
My pleasure. Anytime. Thank you.
And I do have one announcement for commissioners before we head out for the night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. and Good night.
Good night.
Let's see. Arisa just wanted me to pass along. She had sent me the PDF flyer in an email that I'll send around to you all. But there's kind of an open house at the skating rink at Lars Anderson Park where commissioners can go skate for free if you guys so choose. But you can also have the opportunity to go inside the warming hut and kind of take a look at that, since there have been, a couple CPA projects ongoing at Lars Anderson. So it's just a good opportunity for folks to get out there. There's a whole bunch of other events scheduled for the night. I believe it's Saturday, this upcoming Saturday. So I'll send you the flyer in the email.
Excellent. Okay, and next month's meeting is looking at my calendar, February 9th.
February
I think it's the 10th.
Second Tuesday.
10th.
Yes, that would be the second Tuesday. Okay, great. All right, that's all I have. Anyone have anything? Welcome, Jean.
Thank you.
Yes.
And let's adjourn.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.